This is the 24-inch trike kit from E-BikeKit. They offer a wide variety of kits on their website, and they'll ship them to you. And basically with this one, you can install it on any trike. And in fact, it doesn't necessarily need to be a trike, but it has a couple of features that are specifically aimed for trike riders. And I'm gonna get into that in just a second. Right now it's installed on this nice Sun trike. It's got a big seat, a basket, and it looks nice. Some shops may actually carry this model, but I'm gonna go ahead and focus in on the kit part of this, because the trike itself, it has a single speed. It's got these 24-inch wheels, the basket, but it's pretty straightforward, right? You can get an idea. I do like that it has that front fender, but there's not a whole lot to say about the trike, except that it's going to be fun to actually test this with the kit on. So if you bought the kit, you would have to get it set up on the front wheel. This is a torque lever here that basically keeps the motor from pushing too hard on the dropouts on this front fork. So it's a torque arm, and it does come with that. Here's the motor itself. It's a 500 watt direct drive, which means it's gearless hub motor. It's built into that 24-inch wheel, which is actually hand assembled in the United States, and they've been doing this since 2008. So pretty impressive, and just sort of growing, offering good service and good prices. You are going to have to run the wires along yourself and kind of zip tie them and put the little LED monitor and get the twist throttle set up, and then wire up the battery pack and everything. But it's not too difficult. You can see the zip ties are all set up here, and they've done a nice job because it matches the bike and really just blends in nicely. So back here, what we're looking at is sort of the controller, and this is actually how you turn the bike on. So right now it's in the off position, and you can see that the display is not lighting up, the throttle is not working, and that's basically controlled back here. So it's a simple setup. You don't actually have much with the display. It's kind of a multimeter essentially. When you turn this on, you can see again it lights up, and it estimates the battery based on the voltage, basically the battery capacity. So it's not super precise, and it doesn't have an integrated light, and you can't tell how fast you're going, that kind of stuff, but it gets the job done. It keeps this thing a little bit less expensive than if it had all those fancy features. And here's the battery pack, and it does come with this nice bag that is sort of velcroed on to the basket, so it keeps it from sliding around, and you could stack groceries here or whatever. It's fairly rugged design. It's a sealed lead acid 36 volt 9 amp hour pack, and this actually weighs about 16 pounds, so it's heavier than lithium alternatives, lithium iron phosphate, lithium manganese. But with something like this, the weight is less of an issue, and it's sort of balancing out the design, because you've got this front hub right here, and that actually weighs about 12 pounds, and then you've got the 16-pound battery pack, and you're on a trike, so the weight is less of a concern on a setup like this. And these are much more affordable options than lithium. I would be careful. Lead acid, if you deep cycle it, meaning you go all the way down, all the way up, it can be a little bit harder on it than if you just sort of use part of the pack and then make sure you charge it again. So there are some just sort of basic quick tips. Here's where you can plug it in and charge it. It comes with a charger. There's even a little extra baggy area here that you can put some accessories or whatever. So it ends up working pretty well. And again, it's not gonna go anywhere. I've been going back and forth from the 20-inch wheel kit to the 24-inch wheel kit, and aside from being a little bit faster because of the larger diameter, I've noticed that this one doesn't spin out as much. The tire doesn't, with the other one, you gun it and it's like this one doesn't do that. So that's kind of nice, but it also means you don't have quite the same torque for climbing, because the motor is having, the leverage is working against it. It's having to torque harder to move that wider tire. I also wanted to mention that this direct drive, non-geared motor design it's maybe a little bit weaker than a geared design would be. You just don't have that same advantage of those gears, but it's gonna last longer. There are fewer moving parts inside. Essentially, it's these big magnets are mounted in there, and then there's a stator, which is like a piece of metal that turns into an electromagnet when you throttle it, right? And so that's great. That gives you fewer moving parts, and this one's designed to be pretty powerful at 500 watts. But what that also means is that if the bike's turned off, those magnets are still in there and they can repel the stator a little bit. So it does create some drag. Not really a whole lot, but I wanted to try to demonstrate that for you, what kind of drag you could expect to see. This is something that happens on most direct drive motors. So I'm gonna just set the camera down and do a little test. So the bike is off. Pick it up. So you can see how it slowed down a little bit more quickly. Here's just a regular wheel. There's no motor, nothing pulling on it for comparison. Not a huge difference, but there is a difference. And so if you were out riding this thing and it ran out of batteries, and you got the weight of that lead acid battery, the weight of the wheel, we're talking almost 30 pounds of extra weight in addition to these larger frames, and you've only got one gear to pedal with, that wouldn't be a very happy day. So just keep that in mind, and keep your eye on the battery indicator, but note that it's not the perfect, the best accuracy. I'm going to post the estimated distance and stuff back at the website on the full review, and it shouldn't be a huge problem if you're somewhere flat, but I did want to call that out as just one of those points to keep in mind. So this is kind of the bang for your buck, and this one has some cool features that the other ones don't. So the top speed on it is 15 miles per hour. Now, there are a lot of electric bikes, and in the US the legal limit is 20 miles per hour. So it's like, oh, why is it going slower? Well, with the trike you can kind of turn, and you can kind of get basically get onto two wheels if you turn too fast. By going a little bit slower, that's going to extend your range a little bit. And I think in primary, it's just a safety thing. And this, what it does have that's awesome is reverse. Okay, so forward mode is you just leave the button up like that. And this trike has a brake lock, so I undo that. So I'm in forward mode right now. If I twist this, the trike starts going forward, right? Super easy. But if I want, I can press this little button, and now it goes backwards about 4 miles per hour. And that's just cool, in case you've got like a cargo load back here, and it's heavy, or I don't know. I think it could just come in handy having a reverse, and it's one of the very few electric bikes that I'm aware of that offers that. So yeah, those are kind of the basics. I was going to do a quick ride test and just show you the motor and give you some idea of what it feels like to ride this thing. Note that this trike only has one handbrake. It's for the front wheel, and it's sort of a basic V-brake design. It works. Again, this whole thing is it's sort of simple, fun, gets the job done. So here we go. I'm going back to forward. I don't even need to start pedaling. I just twist the throttle. And this is fully twisted right now. Pretty quiet and smooth. You can't really tell exactly how fast we're going, but the specs say about 15 miles per hour. And being that it's a 500 watt motor, that's pretty good power for climbing and stuff, and starting from rest. So I'm doing it again. Yeah, it feels nice. So yeah, that's the 24-inch wheel kit for trikes from E-BikeKit.com. For more on this and other electric bikes, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com.